Hello, welcome to my channel. My channel is called Serenity and Strength and covers my widowhood and wellness journeys. And my name is Joyce Onyango. If you are watching for the first time, you're most welcome. For those who have been following the story, thank you very much for being part of us. And I request those who are new and have not subscribed, kindly do subscribe. Also like, share, and comment. With the comments, I would like for those who have gone through similar situations to also comment, or for any other issues, you could also comment. And where you'd like to comment in private, I will provide a telephone line that you can either WhatsApp or text. Then we can share your comments in a confidential manner. The main aim is to be able to share as many comments or experiences as possible so that together we can make life easier for each other. There are a number of earlier recordings where, if you have not had the opportunity to watch them, kindly do so that it brings you up to speed on both the storyline and also some of the learnings. In this particular episode, I'm going to continue talking about widow inheritance, which had been the topic for the previous recording. The reason why the proposal or the inheritance actually was a shocker for me was because they knew exactly the kind of person I was and my beliefs and what I would accept and what I would not accept. And therefore, really, to me, that suggestion was, I felt, really the height of audacity. And then maybe also they were just testing the waters. They noted that even the women in the household or in the homestead seemed to be for it. You could just see from the kind of anticipation that they had, and therefore it was something which I felt in a way had already been discussed, and people were just waiting to see what was going to happen or what my response was going to be and what the outcome was. In all this, as I've always said, God is the one who always stands with me. At a particular happening, you may find that I may not call on him at that point in time, but I believed and trusted that he would always be with me and walk with me in whatever I had to do. At some later point before we left, I brought to attention that I'd wanted to see if I could expand the house that was at home. And my thinking was, which I also put forward, was that I wanted it to be slightly bigger so that it would be comfortable for when I was to come home with the children, because that was my intention. And I wanted them to actually have more and more interaction with them, because we had never really been at home with all of them. And I thought that it was important that I nurture that kind of a thing. But what I was told is that I had to have a specific person to do it, and also that whatever finances I may have for doing that kind of a project, I needed to pass it on to that person. Now, that suggestion, the way it was made and the way it was being framed, I could see that it was an indirect way of still pushing the inheritance agenda. I knew what the traditions were, because in most cases, actually, I would take the time to make sure that I am very much aware. And I knew that from what the suggestions, that were being made to me, even if there was supposed to be any kind of inheritance, definitely it would not have been that particular person who would have been the one who would have been considered actually. And I had seen in many homesteads, even around there, where they had embraced Christianity, things of this nature were not actually brought to bear at all into any kind of discussions that were made after a funeral or after the loss of a person. What I also noted is that since many of the times the traditions, the way they would bring them up, were not consistent, a lot of times it was actually used as a means to an end. I decided I would not bother with what I had proposed, as I had no intention whatsoever of being controlled, and I would rather concentrate on other things which were of more importance to myself and the children and would contribute towards our welfare, instead of this kind of nonsensical and, as far as I was concerned, backward kind of tradition, which was not going to help us in any way at all. And from this, I think it is very important for people be very alert as to what is going on and be able to read behind the lines to know where what is suggested is going to take you. It is very important where it is a tradition or anything or circumstance that you're going to be put into. It's very important to know about all the pros and cons of it and to understand it, so that you can always counteract whatever you're being told, whether it is through some kind of argument or whether it is through actions which you will take quietly or silently. What I did not also comprehend or understand was because at this point in time when this was taking place, HIV was very rampant. We had lost a number of colleagues and friends to this, and even within the village itself, they were very much aware of this kind of thing. Therefore, for this kind of a suggestion to be made, I felt that it was very irresponsible. But then you find that the mindset was not quite what you anticipated to be. In fact, it brought to mind a conversation which I overheard or by some former colleagues of ours who I thought they were people who were quite educated, and in the mindset I thought they would look at things in a very objective way, but they were discussing inheritance. And when one of them brought up the issue that actually if such a thing were to take place, you could find that the widow could find herself with HIV/AIDS, and a number of them said, well, if it happens, then it is fate. And I thought to myself, how can they talk like that? Because as far as I'm concerned, where there is something where you have control over, you cannot say it is fate and simply go into it blindly. If you have control over that, you don't get into a situation whereby you're going to find yourself HIV positive simply because of being careless, or allowing yourself to go into situations because you're being told that it is something which you have to do and yet you can resist it, then to me, that is not fate. In fact, this is where the serenity prayer comes back to mind again. And let me just recall it. It says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, in this particular case, this is something you can change, and you need to have the courage to change it for your own good and for the good of your children, and never, never, never accept such a thing as fate. Unfortunately, widow inheritance still survives in some places, although the rate of prevalence has gone down quite significantly. Mainly you'll find it in areas where they're culturally conservative, or where there is a lot of economic vulnerability, and mainly those are in rural settings. And you'll find that you'll find in Western Kenya, rural Tanzania, also parts of rural Uganda. Then you also find it in selected communities in Southern and Western Africa. Many times you'll find that in those particular areas, men have got less sympathy for the person who is being inherited unless it is their mother, their sister, or their daughter. That is where you find that they may now come in on the basis of the probability of HIV infections, and they will quite often intervene because of that. Otherwise, a lot of times actually, they are not as bothered about it as they ought to be. But from our perspective, I think as women, we should know that just one woman inherited is one woman too many. And it is important that women try to uplift themselves economically, possibly by coming into groups and trying to see what they can do for themselves, even if it means just small amounts of contributions that they do to see what kind of economic activities they can do, so that even before they're married, they get themselves economically uplifted in a way. And this in itself will also help them at the point of marriage to be able to uplift their families. And then if they should find themselves that they are widows, they'll be able to more manage themselves and their children. It is very important that this kind of practice actually is eradicated, as it does not help in any way, particularly the woman. Within Kenya, there are many churches which have openly opposed coercive widow inheritance and sexual cleansing rituals, and you'll find that there are various ministries that actually help to support widows in this particular aspect. I will be sharing links which people can actually go to and try to see when they need any kind of assistance in this particular area. Hawthorne is best known for its association with cardiovascular health. Some studies have explored its use alongside conventional treatment for mild heart failure, though it should never replace prescribed medication. It has antioxidants, and these may help reduce oxidative stress and inflammation in the body. It may help with mild anxiety and stress. It also gives digestive support. It provides cholesterol support, and this works best alongside a high-fiber Mediterranean-style diet, exercise, and healthy fats. It gives gentle support for aging, but important cautions are that you should use it carefully, as it may interact with medicines for blood pressure and also for heart medications. The best time to take it is in the morning or afternoon if you're using it for circulatory support, gentle energy, or cardiovascular wellness, and in the evening if you're going to use it to have a calming and relaxing feel. If you're using it for the first time, just use 1 cup daily and see how your body responds, as your body always tells you. And to prepare it, just use hot water, steep for 10 to 15 minutes, and use 1 bag or half a teaspoonful. Do enjoy the drink and let me know how you found it and how your body reacts to it. Do subscribe, like, and share, and become a member of our community. Bye. I will see you in the next.